All right. So good day, everyone. And thank you all for joining the call. My name is Dubaim Oji, and I'm one of the founding members, which includes you all, founding members of the Gamechangers Readership Promotion Network. And I welcome you all to this inaugural launch of our book club. This book club has been something that has been long in the making. We've been planning and strategizing for a very long time on how we're going to do it and launch it. And we've had like a couple of other small activities in the build up to this. And we are very excited that today the dream is coming to life and you all are here to witness it. So I'll start by introducing myself. Like I said, my name is Dubaim Oji, and I live in Canada, where I work in a beer company called Molson Coors as a shopper marketing manager. And amongst the many things that I'm involved in, I'm very passionate about reading, which is why I'm here today. And I'm very excited to share this passion with you guys. I would like to meet the people on the call. So, briefly, do us the honor of just unmuting yourself, telling us your name and what brings you here today, what you like, basically, and also what you do. So, we want to know your name, what you do, and why you are here today. Can anyone do us the honor of starting? Okay, Obina, please, you can start since you are the one closest.
Okay, I was going
Yeah.
to still introduce myself later, but my name is Obina, and Obina Ude. I'm from Nigeria. Why am I saying I'm from Nigeria? Most of us are from Nigeria here. But I live in the US. I work with JP Morgan, and I love reading, and that's why I'm here as well as one of the founding members of the Game Changers Book Club.
Thank you very much, Obina. Who else is interested
Okay,
in
let me
letting
take it
us
up.
know?
My name is Cornelius Ndubisi, one of the co-founders of the Game Changers Leadership Promotion Network. I live in London, and then I am into book publishing. That's the major thing I do. So I'm very excited to be here. Reading is my thing, and I look forward to a community where we can, meaningfully contribute towards building each other. Thank you.
The boom is muted again.
You're muted.
All right. Sorry about that. Thank you very much, Cornelius. I can see a couple of other people on the call, but uh, in the benefit of just being on time and following the agenda, because we have a very packed agenda today, I'm still going to open it up to get to know each and every one of you subsequently. But I would like for us to take the keynote speech for today. Uh, I can see Samuel Okonkwo on the call. So, Samuel, can you do us the honor of presenting the keynote speech? And briefly introduce yourself so that everyone on the call gets to meet the marvelous person you are.
You're far too kind, Dubem. Can you confirm you can hear me?
Yes, I can
Loud
hear
and
you
clear.
very well.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dubem. Thank you, guys. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, depending on where you are joining from. It's always a pleasure to be part of this community. This is the community that feels like home to me. So I was particularly pleased to come and speak to us for this meeting today. I'm aware that this is the inaugural meeting, if you like, of the Game Changers Book Club. Is that correct? Right.
Yes, that's correct. This is the first meeting.
Okay. Indeed. So just want to get that clear. I think it's a very unique kind of meeting. Um, we should all count ourselves, myself inclusive, the BAME, Cornell, Obi, and everyone on the call here, um, to be a part of this community. I was thinking about it this morning. I was thinking about why is community important? I mean, many of us on the call here, we belong to different community. Some of us belong to tennis community, football community. In fact, we have Big Brother fans community. Uh, we have this club community, and community is important. It's super important. It makes me remember a particular story of, I don't know how many of you have heard about the empty chair story, where this professor always begins every class with an empty chair in front of the room. And one day a student asked the lecturer or the professor, why do you always keep an empty chair? It teaches all through with the empty chair still there. And what the professor said was very profound. He said the empty chair is for the friend who stopped answering questions in class. It's for the neighbor that lost their spouse. It's for the family member everyone assumes is doing fine. And that the chair was a stark reminder to make everyone know that everyone is welcome in his class, and that success is not just that the bright ones are doing well. Success is also that those that are struggling have a sense of belonging in the same class. I always like that story actually of talking about community. And community is important. This book club is beyond the book club. It's first a community, because every one of us here are like-minded. Every one of us here are either we are starting our journey, our reading journey, or we are on that journey, or we have been lifelong readers and we want to be there. It doesn't matter what part of that reading curve that you fall into. You are in that curve anyway, and you're part of this community. And I think it's very important to always remember that. And why is this book club community even important in the first place? I mean, like I said, there are 1,001 community. You probably have 1,001 WhatsApp groups on your WhatsApp, all of them contending for your attention. And why is this important? Why do you want to be here? Why is it important to be part of this in the first instance? And I think there are a few reasons to be. For me, the big one is what I said about the sense of community. I don't know about you, but I always feel like when I need counsel on anything, and I mean on anything at all, either work related, personal life, whatever it is, I find it easier to go to my friends who I know are readers than otherwise. I just don't know. There is an uninvited wisdom that comes when you're a lifelong reader. I can't explain it, but that is how it is. And that's just because you learn things without knowing that you learn things sometimes. And you acquire new perspective, new horizons of looking at things without knowing that. So community is one of the reasons why this is important, like I said. But I think it's also important to be part of this for the reason I just mentioned now, which is perspective. Perspective is perhaps one of the most important things you can earn in life. And one of the things, or one of the ways to give yourself perspective on anything, is to just be a reader, is to just be a lifelong reader, and to be part of a community of readers. Because that way you can, I told someone that one of the things that reading have done for me is it has made me less judgmental of people. It has made me more accommodating of perspective. It has made me more circumspect in the way I see things and the way I see people. And that is part of why this community is important. That is part of why being a reader of a reading community is also important. There are all other perks of why the book club like this is important. One big one for me is communication. I always tell people, I've said this on mountaintops, and this is one hill I'm ready to die on. The easiest way you can improve your speaking skills, your writing skills, is by being a reader, full stop. Any other person who tells you you need all sorts of tips, that will be secondary. The easiest way to be a great speaker and to be a great writer is to be a lifelong reader, because that way vocabularies become second nature. That way you can gather your thoughts. That way you just know new words. You just know how to string the sentences together. And that is one of the powers of just being a lifelong reader and being part of a book club like this. And there are enormous other things that will be happening in this book club. I'm sure Dubem, Cornell, and the rest of the team will tell you a lot more about it. But just if there's one charge I want to leave us with as I stop talking, is this: the success of this book club would rest on all of us. It will not be one person pulling the string and one person pursuing everybody to be part of it. It will be everyone putting in their parts. And it's that ownership that I just want us to take away from today, is that it will take a village. And we are that village. We are that village. Make no mistakes about it. So as we venture into this journey, and this will be a long journey, hopefully, for some of us, it's a journey for eternity. As we venture into this, it's important that you see ownership. You see yourself in it. You take accountability. If this will succeed or this will fail, will be all of us. And just play your own part. You know how sometimes you go to, I always use church, for example, where you go to church and somebody wants to sit down in the chair. Maybe the person touches the chair and be like, they didn't even clean this chair. You know, it's always one of those things that made me wonder, like, oh, they did not. There is a there somewhere that should do this for you. And I'm bringing that analogy to say that there is no there anywhere that will make this book club a success. It is all of us, and it is just chiming in. If we have to read books, do put in the time to read it. But as I close, I just want to remind us that make no mistakes about it. The journey that you are on is a personal growth journey. And the currency you have to pay is your attention. The currency you have to pay is being invested in it. The currency you have to pay is taking it serious. And I can assure you, and I bet this with my life, that if you stay on this journey, it's only a matter of time, months, weeks, even years for some of us, that you would see the monumental difference in your life, in every facet of your life, in your growth, in your speaking, in your writing, in your perspective, in your knowledge of things. You would see it evident. That is one guarantee that a book club like this is certain to have on you. So thank you very much, and I'll leave it there and pass it back as we continue the rest of today's program. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
Fantastic.
much, Samuel. That was very lovely. And I love how, straight to the point and also brief it was. These days I'm beginning to appreciate knowledge when it comes in tidbits and small pieces. But I want to add something. You mentioned perspective, reading as one of those things that gives us good perspective. And I can attest to that because I know that reading, if not for anything, the biggest impact reading has had in my life is mindset. I know that the problems we experience today, the problems we experience, be it in life in general, be it in business, be it in your workplace, these problems don't need the same old solutions that have been proffered year on year. It needs somebody who has a new mind, a beautiful mind, I dare to say, to approach these problems in a new way that meets the current needs of today. And me, in my career, for instance, I've done different kinds of things and even worked in places that people would imagine that it doesn't fall into my field. But because I have the mindset that gives me the perspective to address the problems that come up there, I find my seat there is always a seat for me in the room. And that's the point. For everyone who is a reader, there is always a seat for you at the table. And having said that, I will be going on to the next agenda that we have on the program for today. And that is a presentation by Obi Nude. Obin, are you there with us?
Yes, I'm
Thank
here.
you.
Hi,
Please
everyone.
take it away.
All right. Thanks a lot to Bim. Thanks, Sammy. That's a great start for what we want to talk about today. And I am very grateful to everyone for joining this club. We've been I'll give a quick background on Gamechangers broadly and then narrow it down to the book club, the vision and the plans on how we came to where we are today. I think it was many years ago, around 2017, that Cornelius led the charge of bringing a few of us together to start something we wanted to call at that time Gamechangers Readership Promotion Network. And the goal of this was because we were all readers among us then at the time. We were all people that love to read. We share books with each other. We recommend books to each other. We discuss books and so on and so forth. And then there was the idea that could we influence other people to also become readers? Could we inspire other people to become readers? And it was clearly possible because in the last close to 10 years now. We've been doing that in different tidbits and little ways. Sometimes we come and say, oh, this year, this is a reading challenge. And then we start doing it on Facebook. I think we started like a Facebook Live and so on. And the goal was keep influencing minds, keep touching a few people. And then recently, we thought to ourselves that we can't really point to those we have affected in any way, in some ways rather. We can't really touch those that, oh, who are the people that were part of our reading club many years ago and that we've been reading together? Where are they now? How are they been improving in their lives? How are we all growing together and so on and so forth? And that was when we thought about making this a more structured book club where people would want to join as against what we did in the past, where we have like a open event where everybody just clicked a link and be part of it and so on. Now we want people who are members of the book club. So you can confidently say, I'm a member of Gamechangers Book Club. So that's the idea. That's where it all started. And the promotion network we have is still another broader umbrella that the team and others are working on in different other areas, or different other areas that did not involve the book club. So we just want to have the book club while we are also pursuing other learning related campaigns that we are doing all around both Nigeria and hopefully soon in Africa and other parts of the world. So this inaugural meeting is aimed at recognizing these new members, these people who have indicated interest. You are pioneers in your rights. You are part of those that have said, put their hands up and say, yeah, I would like to go on this journey of improving my learning, improving my reading. If you ask every one of us, we all have a very interesting story of how and when we started reading. And there is always a distinction between when you started reading and when you were not reading. In secondary school, there was a club that started. They started a club called Young Readers Club, and the teacher was trying to campaign about the club and telling us. In fact, we had these small stickers. I picked up one of those stickers that was given to us, and I put it on the door of our house at home. The sticker simply said, "Readers are leaders." And I was curious. I was always interested in that. I was like, how are readers leaders? So I pick my textbook, Ababio, or whatever, by biology textbook, my chemistry notes. I'll just be reading. I'm like, I don't think this thing I'm doing is the leader that they are describing in that sticker. I just kept thinking that there must be something more. Now, when I was done in secondary school and I was writing Jam me the first one, and then I went to work for one man. He runs a computer store in Abuja then. And I went to learn computer with him and also work for him in his business center. I saw on his desk, he had a book. The title of that book was Tough Times Never Last, but Tough People Do. And it was written by Robert H. Scholler. I remember that book so well because that's the first book I ever read. I read that book and I immediately realized that this is what they meant when they said readers are leaders. This is the kind of book that would transform my life. And at the time I was working for this man, my salary was like 3,000 naira every month. The first salary I received, I entered vehicle to one bookstore and I emptied it in that bookstore, buying books about stocks, buying books about organization, buying books about I bought Goals by Brian Tracy in that same first salary. Goals by Brian Tracy was like 700 naira. I bought one stock books about fundamentals of stock market and whatever. And I got like 3 or 4 books that day, and I was coming home with a lot of joy and pride. Now, the interesting thing is that what I went to the university to study later on when I got admitted is to study zoology. So I read zoology, graduated from zoology. What I'm doing today, I'm a banker, I'm in credit risk. I have read my way to my career today because I didn't go to school for what I am doing. I have only been reading my way to where I am today. Everything I know about accounting, which is the basis of everything I'm studying, everything I'm doing at work, is all from personal studies. And it's from that shreds discovery of knowledge that I can reinvent my life. I can literally reinvent my life by reading. And that's why I personally, and I know that this is the same sentiment members of the club, founders of the club have, is that you can change anything about your life if you can just find a book that discusses it. You can change literally anything in marriage, in relationships, in business, in career, in name it, even in sports. People are getting better at their art simply by reading a biography of someone who killed it in that same industry. So it's a lot of changes that can happen to a person if you can commit to reading. So today, my job today is to go over just to quickly go over how we want to structure the club. I think I can share my screen. I don't know if I am allowed to. Or Cornell, do you want to share that
I think you can
PDF?
share from your end. Let's
Yeah,
Dubem
try
enable it.
sharing from your end. Yeah.
It
let's
told
see.
me the host is not allowing sharing for this meeting.
Okay, let me check.
Can just make him co-host and it will go. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So before that comes up, so the goal of our discussion in the next probably 5 to 10 minutes is just to address the angle of how we're going to be structuring this. Remember, this is one
You can share now.
opportunity. All right, thank you. This is one opportunity we are going to be exploring, both to help ourselves become. Let me sure. Is this? Let me know when you
Sharing.
can
It's coming
see my
on.
screen. Okay. Nice.
Yeah. You could zoom it or something. It's tiny.
It's tiny. Okay. I know why it's tiny. Let me figure it out. So I need to end this. Sure. I have a white screen, so it can be very tiny when I share directly from there. Okay, I think this should be better now. Let me know otherwise.
Yeah, better.
All right. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, I can see it.
All right, thank you. So the main thing I was trying to go through is that this is how we're going to be structuring this so that you can see how we'll be investing 1 hour. Usually we keep our meetings around 1 hour because we don't want it to encroach into other programs you have going for you. But the most important commitment it will require of you is what I'm going to be discussing now. One of them is that you are committing to also read. Now, it's not just coming to discuss the book that others have read, but it's also important that you are also reading along with everyone else. So that's something I want to put at by the side of the way. So like I've introduced Gamechangers Readership Promotion Network and the story from 2017 on how all of this started. But the Gamechangers Book Club is a layer of commitment to learning, which is something that we are also working on. It's the commitment to the kind of learning that we are talking about, which does not stop when your schooling stops. So it doesn't end because you are done with school. It continues going forward. And the curriculum, interestingly, is not designed by a program directors of an maybe Ministry of Education, like most of us have gone through, going through universities or other levels of education. But the curriculum is designed from what we're experiencing in life. Now, we generally have only read fictional books, I mean, non-fiction books, but I don't think we are opposed to reading a good fictional book because it also gives us an expanded vocabulary and the experience of storytelling and a lot of other lessons that we can draw from there. So yearly, we usually sit down to design what are the books we're going to be reading this year from suggestions from members and everyone else. And at the end of the day, we curate 12 books, 1 book per month. That is the target. There are people in this club, I tell you, because I know some of them personally, that wished we read 1 book per week. there was a time the debate was, should we read one book per week or one book per month? And I was like, guys, let's slow down, please. Let's read one book per month. It's more manageable for someone who is working, schooling, or doing any other thing. So one book every month is selected at the beginning of the year, and everyone has it in mind. You can plan for it. You can buy those books. You can order them, and so on and so forth. And when you bring all of those together, we can all read through the entire period. So once a month, we meet to discuss that book of the month. It's usually going to be towards the end of the month so that we can reflect on the book that we're expected to have completed for that month. And we will see a sample of what I'm talking about today, because we're going to be reflecting on the book for the month of June. So the other thing is, what is it in what's in it for you? I think Sammy touched on this, so I don't want to overemphasize it. But then there is an expanded network of people who have like minds. Everybody here is thirsty for knowledge. Everybody here is thirsty for learning, and that's why you're already here. So you're qualified at the first level to be here. Don't exclude yourself from that. Then the second thing is, you have a community, a group of people who are both focus-minded, access to individual stories and everybody's experience. Sometimes people will talk about things as it relates to their own lives when we discuss some of those books. So you will see that this is an opportunity to learn from what is going on in my life and what I can learn from what is going on in your own life and career as well. Now, most of us are professionals in this group, so it's also a good opportunity of networking, quote and unquote, but then we are also able to keep those conversations both respectful, exciting, inspiring, and so on and so forth. Then the last thing that we would love to take away from this is accountability. Now, the goal is to inspire you to read. So if you are part of the club and you are not reading, we are worried. Everybody's worried about that, because it's like either you're not getting it, either you're not catching the fire, if you want to put it that way. You're not catching the fire of reading or the thirst for knowledge, like everyone that we should be on that same frequency when we interact with each other. I follow some people in this group on Instagram or other platforms like that. And when some of you make posts, I look at it, I'm like, Omo, is my vocabulary up to this level that I don't understand the first thing this person just said in this first sentence, and so on. That's an inspiration. It can be a challenge that makes you sad and frustrated, but it can also be an inspiration for you to be part of something that is both purposeful and forward-looking. So there is the growth beyond the books we've selected. There's a community focus. There is also the accountability part that helps every one of us grow together. So the structure of the club is going to be, we read one book a month, like I've said, but we meet once a month each time to discuss that. In addition to talking about the book, we also want to have a fireside chat, which we're going to be sampling today with Dr. Pascal Odinde, who is joining us. But then we want to be able to discuss ideas from the book that we have read, ideas from the topic that we are covering, because our books are usually focused on a certain topic. And so want to also explore ideas from that angle. And then the last part of our meetings is going to be resolutions. What am I doing differently? How am I applying this that I've learned? This thing I just figured out. There's a book we read, I think a few months ago, which had to do with something in relationship. Part of reading that book required you to fill out a survey to know the kind of person you are, or personality style or type you are, or your partner is. I learned a lot from that practice. It was just a simple exercise, but it was a lot helpful to me and my own personal life and my relationship. So that's the structure of it. We discuss the book. We have a fireside chat conversation, fireside chat conversation, and then we have a resolution or a personal application on how it will affect your own life. Now, there are three other areas where you have expectation or responsibility for all members of the club. And I want you to really ask yourself how you can show up in these three areas. One is in attendance at meetings. You can make a choice to show up or not, or show up passively or not, or just be in attendance and we mark that this person was there, but we're not really there. So either you are walking on the road and you just plug your ears and be listening to what people are saying and not excited to contribute, not excited to be part of the conversation. That's not what we are aiming for. We are aiming for very active membership. Active members, everyone hands-on, ensuring that I help the other person learn. That is the goal. I help the other person learn. You have a perspective, you have a vision, you have something that it's only you that can share. That is what we are interested in drawing out from you, so that every one of us can learn and benefit from that. So that's the advantage of being here. So attendance at the meetings is key, but active attendance is important. That's the second part of expectation, is participation in the meeting. So participation can be, sometimes we're assigned, oh, you are going to provide a summary. Everyone will be a part of that. So it's not going to be, oh, just a few people who were part of the founding or maybe of the broader executive committee that would say, oh, these are the ones that speak up in the meeting. No, moderating the meeting, or no. Everyone will have an opportunity to be part of it. We would also have opportunity for maybe executive positions. I don't know how we're going to be talking more about how that will work, but everyone has a role to play also, so that if the responsibility falls on you, you can see it as that exciting opportunity to show up for yourself. And I don't want you to take it for granted. Then the last part of it is there's also going to be some need for financial commitment. Now, the reason why we want to make this a closed door group instead of making it like a broadcast Facebook Live kind of club is that everyone needs to bring in their contributions in one way or the other. Now, contributions are not going to anybody's pocket. So we're not running a salaried committee where Obina or Cornelius or Dubem are being paid stipends for moderation or coordination. No, the goal is that we have outreaches. The objective of this club is that as we are learning, we are growing, we are inspiring people among ourselves, we are also inspiring people outside ourselves. So we have a secondary school outreach where we buy books, we go to secondary schools, inspire them on reading, gift them books, equip their libraries and stuff like that. We make these contributions monthly so that we are able to finance those kind of projects. We have campaigns that we've done even in the month of, is it March, where we had the International Women's Day. We had a campaign for the girl child reading and so on. That happened. And sometimes we have to expend money to either buy books or buy certain materials to promote those campaigns. That is also going to be coming from a monthly dues kind of arrangement. It's not going to be anything more than we are capable of doing, because we don't want to burden us too much so that you don't feel, oh, I thought I came here to read. Why are they now collecting money? No. The money is that you are also going to be part of promoting learning, not just reading on your own. So don't see this as, oh, I'm just doing this to pass time, or this is just to pass time. No, this is not going to be pastime kind of group. I don't believe you are joining this because of that. So I'm confident that everyone who is here is diligent, is committed to being able to say, I'm promoting learning, and confidently say, I'm also growing from where I used to be before joining the club. So I think this is broadly the three things that we're going to be expecting from each other. And I don't want anyone to feel left out. So be committed, be desirous of it, be inspired, be inspired. You too can you share with us your story at some point, and also inspire other people with how you stumbled on learning and how learning has made a difference for you in your life and in your career. So I'll stop here and I'll yield the floor to Dubem. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Obina. You captured everything we had in mind in dreaming about this book club. And I like how you summarized it into 3 points, which I would like to recap so that everyone would remember it. First, we need you to attend. Second, we need you to participate. Thirdly, we need you to contribute. Because if you've caught the light, right, just like the scripture says, nobody finds light and puts it under a table. You want to share it, right? And it is in participating and also contributing to making more people know about this that you can share this light, right? So we're inviting you to put this light on the hilltop. Put it in every secondary school around you. Some of these secondary school outreaches that we're talking about, it would be you as members of this book club finding a secondary school in your neighborhood. It will still be you going there to talk to them. It won't be like you're contributing money, sending it to somebody. It will be whenever we want to do it, we'll say, does anyone have a school we can go talk to? Anyone who has a school where you think you can inspire children to read? I've done this many times, and I tell you, you would not have a better feeling than when you do something that not only impacts a generation, but generations beyond. Because these people, when they become readers, they go on to share this light that they have seen with many others that will come after them. So thank you very much, Obina, for you know grounding us on why we are here, because it's very important to remember the North Star. We are here to read, then to lead, and also to inspire our generation and the generation after us. So thank you very much. We'll be moving on with the agenda, and we have a fireside chat with Dr. Pascal, and this will be anchored by Cornelius. And I want to say something about this fireside chat. We intend to know everyone here on a personal level. And that is why at every session, one of you will be invited to discuss, have this fireside chat where we focus on you and get to know you a bit more. And it's also important because we are familiar with this saying that you are addressed the way you dress. I want to also tell you that your net worth in life is somehow directly proportional to your network. I'm on the board of some organizations that some of our members have founded just because they met me through reading and they wanted like-minded people to be part of the organization they are founding. If tomorrow that organization goes public, I will be the next Elon Musk. I be that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, but that is what happens when you associate yourself with like-minded people, all right? And we'll all, shine brighter. So over to you, Cornelius.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dubem. Thank you so much, Obina, and thank you, Sam, for the keynote. So I want to quickly invite Pascal Odinde, Dr. Pascal Odinde. Yeah, because when you have done the work to earn that degree, we should be able to address you by it. Pascal, are you here?
Yes, I'm here. Thanks.
Okay. So in the next 10 minutes, we want to leave this meeting, not just knowing you, because again, in the life of your interaction in the group, we'll get to know you some more. So we'll not finish knowing you now, but want to have a sense of what you do such that we don't just know that you do that, we know what that is about, right? So the way I want to start is if you and I, seated in front of a computer, want to make a PowerPoint slide on who you are and want to use 3 bullet points, what will those 3 bullet points is from a professional standpoint?
Interesting. By the way, thanks for giving me this opportunity, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone on the call. Right. So first of all, I am Pascal Odinde. Pascal Odinde itself is an identity that I can't joke with because it sums up what I represent. But then again, as a worker, I am fundamentally a materials and corrosion engineer, basically by training. And what that simply means is that we try as much as we can, depending on the part of the let's take for instance in where I work when I was with the when I was with the design engineering team. There we basically do engineering design where you look at the materials that are very important for the structures that will power the flow of hydrocarbon from one point to the other. So in this case, carbon steel and all that. So as I will say, I'm a materials and corrosion engineer, right? Then the other one would be that I am a creator, right? And what that simply means for me is that I try to utilize what I have within to provide solutions. And there are many of them, even within my workplace, like joining an employee in the network, and we've been able to build the first EV charging station from nothing. And this started basically from bottom top to the point where where the CEO is so excited with what we did, and we're talking about replicating that. And the last one will be, I am a learner, a committed learner, right? And
Fantastic.
what that simply means, in fact, that is also what has influenced my joining the Gamechangers network. And it's so interesting to see that we have the capacity to learn and unlearn and relearn and become better. So I will stop here and entertain more questions.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. Pascal Odinde, materials and corrosion engineer, a curator, and because I also know you, an addicted learner. Great. So let's go to the meat of what you do. We are very familiar with all the engineering, elect engineering, petroleum engineering, this engineering, that engineering. And then we are getting to hear materials and corrosion engineering. Please, would you take us through what that is about?
Okay. So I play in the oil and gas sector, and one of the critical infrastructure we use to deliver hydrocarbon, that's crude, from one point to the other, is basically pipelines. Could be pipe, I mean, depending on where you sit, that same pipe can be called pipeline, flow lines, bulk line, as the case may be. So basically, flow lines are, I don't know why I'm going into details, but I think it's an opportunity for us to learn, right? So you have
Sure.
so you have the the pipes that takes crude from the well to the flow station where it is processed. So those ones are called the flow lines. And when it is processed, there's also another line that takes the crude from the processing facility. The processing facility could be a flow station, it could be an associated gas plant, it could be a gas plant, this one. So the pipes that takes those processed fluid from that point to the terminal for export is then called the pipelines. So basically what we do as a materials and corrosion engineer is to ensure that these carbon steel, in some cases they are stainless steel depending on the fluid properties, are able to withstand, or rather stay till the design life, because these materials are bound to corrode, right? And when I say corrode, we can even take it home. Look at our gates, especially those that stays close to the sea and other. I mean, let me use a typical example for most of us that we are in Lekki those days, right? You see that the rate of corrosion at when you observe your gates and also your what's it called again? I don't know that. So materials made of steel, they are bound to corrode, and it is a natural process. So what we do as materials and corrosion engineer is to ensure that even when this material corrode, they corrode at a very minimal rate that can still help us utilize the facility beyond its design life. Because you don't want to build such massive structure and then it corrodes, because when it corrodes, it leads to leak, unplanned downtime, loss of revenue, and all that. And it's also a national asset. For Nigeria, you know that crude oil is a critical asset, right? So what that simply means is that it has to properly maintain integrity-wise and even operational-wise, right, to ensure that we continue to transport this crude safely from one point to the other.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think from this explanation, I've been able to learn the difference between a flow line and a pipeline. The flow line is from, I guess, the oil well to the processing plant. and then it becomes a pipeline when it's moving from the processing plant to wherever it's being used, whether it's a gas plant, wherever. Yeah, fantastic. So the next simple question is, when you wake up in the morning, tomorrow, Monday morning, and then you finish dressing up for work, get in your car and arrive at the office, what does a typical work day look like? What exactly do you do to achieve this goal of slowing down corrosion rate and all that, the way you described it?
Okay, good. So in the corrosion space, we have what we call the corrosion management framework, right? So this framework captures the threats, the corrosion threats, because even within corrosion, there are different forms of corrosion. You have MIC, which is microbial-induced corrosion, that comes as a result of bacteria ingress into your facility, because those bacteria can eat up your pipe, right? So there are different kinds of corrosion. We have the soil corrosion, especially when the metals, in this case, pipeline, interact directly with the soil without any coating material, right? So that's soil. So there are different threats, and then we also have the barriers in place, right? And then also have what are those KPIs we use to validate the effectiveness of our barriers, because those barriers have to be intact. If not, the consequence of having those threats, we basically show up, right? So going through those and what's it called again? Parameters help us to look at, okay, which of them should we focus on? Like, for instance, when we get inspection data from site and at a particular location, let's take, for instance, where we have dead legs, right? When you take the data from those kind of area, you can then ascertain whether the bacterial activity is so high. And then you now know, okay, what sort of chemicals you are going to use to reduce the bacterial activity. But as you reduce the bacterial activity, then your corrosion rate is reduced. And you recall, we are trying to ensure that that infrastructure, in this case, pipeline, is able to serve us beyond our design life, the design life of the facility. So that corrosion management framework basically help us to monitor this, especially from the operation point of view, because I'm mainly in that space, right? But for those that are in projects and others, so they basically do materials design depending on the project or objectives, right? Looking at, okay, this material is meant to stay for 25 years or beyond. Okay, what kind of material are we going to use, given the kind of environment we want to deploy this kind of facility, right? So those things come into play, and from there you get your material selection report, you get your painting specification and all that. All these things is like you planning those coating barriers we had talked about in the operation phase, to ensure that we still meet the design life, not just meet the design life, but even utilize our facility beyond its design life, because that's basically where you get much value. Right.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Then the very last question. I understand you work with Shell, now Renaissance, and I understand that what we have used to demonstrate, the examples we have used, drawn from your work, is a high-end asset. I can imagine these are towering, multi-billion dollars, costing stuff, But at the heart of it, no matter the size, it comes down to metal, isn't it? Whether it's steel, the different forms of metal. And I know that each and every one of us interacts with metals in one form or the other, whether it's your jewelry, whether it's your utensils, whether it's your gates, even, whether it's the metallic parts of your car and stuff. Now, this big corrosion thing you do for that gigantic company, what wisdom can we appropriate from that whole stuff to our daily interaction with metals to increase the lifespan of our metals, to maintain them better and all that? So what tips will you give us as take home to interact with our metals better going forward?
Okay, so I'll keep it simple. Look at the barriers that will ensure that your metallic structures stay up to this design life. And I'll give a typical example. At home, we have our gates and all that. If you want them to last, therefore you have to paint. You have to ensure you do your regular maintenance, because if not done, the materials will corrode. It's a natural process. And recall the process that even got those metals is that, it has to go through the refinery, the extraction process and all that. And what is basically happening is that you are adding energy to the metal, right? You are basically adding energy. And when it is in use, what happens typically is that it wants to release that energy. It wants to go back to its ground state, right? So for you to sustain its structure to deliver its purpose, then you have to do those maintenance activities. And we can also relate it to our lives. Anything not put to use corrodes. So what that means is that as we put whatever we've learned or whatever, now I'm extracting this not just from the metallic point of view, but then again, how this is connected to our lives, right? That once we don't do those sort of maintenance, those sort of re-examination, you can appear there, but you are basically losing your credibility to deliver the design life of your facility, but in this case, the purpose of your life. Yeah.
Wow. Awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, I guess we have now succeeded in reading a full book on corrosion engineering and how to apply it to our lives. And I can't thank you enough, Mr. Pascal, for living up to it. Well done, and we wish you the very best in your work. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I give it back to you, Dubem.
Yeah, thank you very much. For those who paid attention, we'll be issuing certificates on corrosion engineering lecture attendance, so that you can prove to anybody who you meet that you know one or two about pipelines and flow lines and what have you. Thank you very much, Pascal, for sharing that with us. And I believe we all paid attention to the fireside chat, because tomorrow, like I said, it might be you. And I believe that it's going to be fantastic getting to know you, getting to know a bit of what you do, because this is what makes conversations rich for us. Tomorrow, I might meet somebody who is in Pascal's line of work, and I would have something to add to the conversation. I wouldn't be mute when the conversation is going on. And that's how we help each other become, have more perspective, like Samuel mentioned when he was, giving his keynote speech. Reading gives you perspective. Being part of a book club even broadens that perspective, because you get to meet more readers and learn from their own experience, because there are so many books on earth that we won't be able to read them all, but we can synthesize the information in all the books we come across and share with each other. Having said that, we'll be moving on to the next agenda, which is reviewing the book for the month. And it's going to be handled by Cornelius. So Cornel, I would want to bring you back to give us a book review. And please, as he's reviewing the books, pay attention and take note of what you learn, any impressions that you get, because we will be having a conversation on what we've listened to afterwards. I know some of you read the book as well, so I will be looking to bring in all that perspective so that we can all share learnings and be better for it. Thank you very much, Cornel. Over to you.
Okay. This is me back to back. I wasn't exactly supposed to do the fireside chat, but the arrangement to do it didn't quite work out. I had to stand in for that. So my main task for this meeting is the review. And the beautiful thing, like Obina has eloquently shared with us, is that in subsequent meetings, all these parts, all these bits and pieces of the meeting will be spread out to each and every one of us that is available, and we take turns to do it, which is the very beauty of it. So I'll quickly share my screen now. The slides I have for the, yeah, just a sec, it's loading up. Almost there, almost there. Sorry. Yeah, I just found it, sorry. Oh no, oh no, oh no. So Dwayne,
Yes.
yeah, could you just help me? I don't know what's happening to the file. I'll just quickly forward it to you.
Okay,
You
you
help
want
me
me to
share it from your end.
project? Or-
Yeah. Just in a sec. Yeah, sorry for this.
Can you
Yeah,
send it
but
to my
why?
Canadian number?
Okay, but while we're
Or
at
don't
it,
worry, let me forward it myself. Just go ahead.
yeah. So I can actually do part of the presentation while he's doing that. I've sent it to him. Yeah. I think it's somehow it's having a problem on my phone. Yeah. Now, first of all, it's not a random book. Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig. It's a book on particularly, but not exclusively, men's mental health. So for the month of June, where we read the book, or where we were supposed to have read the book, yeah, it's generally viewed as the month for mental health of men, right? So again, that's some of those considerations come into picking the books, right? And it densely leans against the backdrop that, I mean, culturally, men's mental health have been taken for granted, right? And in fact, men are sort of choked with sayings that are both untruths and depressing. You know, men don't cry, bottle it up, hold it up, be a man, and sort of, you know, and then we grow up thinking and behaving that way and end up harming ourselves, right? So that's
Connor, can you transfer the host to me? Sorry to interrupt. Just give me the host access so I can present your screen.
Don, I think I will do that.
Yeah, I'll just. Okay, done. Yeah, so that's the first point. So the choice of the book itself leans against the backdrop of, you know, the men's mental health crisis. Then secondly, the book itself is not some random book. It's not some random self-help book. It's not some random nonfiction. It's a book, it's a memoir, a book about the guy's own life. And the next slide, I will read us a quote that captures the very essence of the entire book. So there is no right or wrong way to have depression or have a panic attack or to feel suicidal. These things just are. Misery, like yoga, is not a competitive sport. But I've found over the years that by reading about other people who have suffered, survived, and overcome despair, I have felt comforted. It has given me hope. I hope this book can do the same. Now, the idea is it tells us, yeah, this whole book is my own contribution to that conversation because those that wrote before me helped me. I hope that by reading my own story, you are able to be helped. Now, in order for us to look out for what we are supposed to grab from the book, for those of us who read it, and for those of us who base their understanding of the book from this conversation because they didn't get to know about the book earlier, is this, 3 of them. Number 1, I am hoping that through this review or through your having read the book, or if you read it later, it will help you challenge the stigma surrounding depression and mental illness. Because you hear somebody has bipolar, you hear somebody has this ADHD and schizophrenia and name them. And you begin to avoid the people, begin to make them feel like they are mad. In fact, we say they are mad, So that is the first thing. It should help you overcome that mode of thinking. And then 2, if you have one form of mental illness or the other, it should give you hope that healing is possible, even when it doesn't feel like it. In fact, when we get into the meat of the discussion, you'll find that in its very nature, when depression and anxiety manifest in you, it feels like dying. So in that place, you are not even able to comprehend the possibility of being okay. So we are saying, even if it feels like not being okay, it can be okay, based on the testimony of the guy who wrote the book. Because it's easy for those of us who may not be encountering that to think that you'll be fine. And then your encounter with the book should be able to show you that your darkest moments don't offer the clearest view of your life. Yeah, that will be the next slide, babe. Yeah, because in that place, in that hellhole, right, whatever you think at that time does not represent reality. So like Winston Churchill will say, when you are going through hell, if you are going through hell, keep going. You don't stop to think about it because you are in hell and nothing good can come from being in hell. If you are in hell, keep going. So those are essentially the 3 things we should, look out for. And then in the next slide, there's a brilliant way in which the book unfolds. And if you understand this 5 categorization, and if we quickly talk through each of them, we are pretty much done. Now, I understand that for this inaugural meeting, because we have other elements like the presentation from Obina and the keynote speech from Sam, in a typical meeting, those will not be there and we'll be able to finish in good time. But because time is sort of fast spent, I will run through them so that in the discussion we are going to have, and then the discussion can really be so much about real life and people's experiences and other people's stories than about dwelling on the book, because the book itself is his own account of his own experience, and his advice, what he discovered. Now, these 5 areas or these 5 parts, so to speak, it's like his attempt to describe the stages he went through. So for instance, the falling stage was when he was in that hell, right? When he was in that hell. And then the landing stage, will be naturally the next phase when he was trying to make sense of what the hell was. Then the rising stage was when he started to apply some of the things he had learned, some of the things he had learned, including even publishing his book, Then the living stage was when he had come out of it, and then the being stage is sort of pretty much the rest of his life in that sense, if we put it that way. Then for each of the next slides, we'll just briefly look at the different stages of it. And then we open up the floor for that, for the discussion. Now, in the falling stage, a profound insight into his experience is the fact that the weirdest thing about a mind is that you can have the most intense things going on in there, but no one else can see them. It's like a schizophrenic when during some of those episodes, like hell is going on inside a person's head, but you have no idea what's going on there. And because you have no idea what's going on there, you don't even have the slightest idea what to tell the person to do or not to tell the person to do, which is even the problem, the bigger problem. And arising from that, if you look at suicide itself, it's like in places, including the UK and the US and those places where they really keep counts, it's like the leading cause of death. Like so many people are dying from it, way more than people commonsensically should die from some forms of cancers like the liver, colon cancer, breast cancer, Alzheimer's. I mean, if you want to use common sense, those should be what should be killing people like so very often. But it then happens that people killing themselves is way more than that. And then the next lie that then happens is that they tell you, you go to the hospital, for instance, everybody is loading you up with medication, antidepressants, this, that, one form of medication or the other. The big pharmas are making billions from it, and everybody is profiting from just keeping you calm momentarily. But between the times when you have those medications, what happens? It really never goes away, So the question really, like I said, the question then becomes with the men's angle to it. Why do many men kill themselves? And let's not even go the gender route to begin to why men? Now the stats are there. The number of men who kill themselves are way above the number of women who kill themselves. And you can find the answer itself in our culture. Women don't behave like a woman. And how would a woman behave? If something gets to her, she starts crying. And we now say that's what it means to be a woman. You tell a man not to behave like a woman because he's crying. So you see how culture has allowed women to, survive some of these things. Of course, not entirely, but we are talking about proportion here. Why the men are, in that hellhole, so to speak. Now that is for the falling. And now we go over to the next one, which is the landing, right? So the first point really is, if you are scared when there is nothing to be scared of, eventually your brain has to give you things. And so that classic expression, the only thing to fear is fear itself, becomes a kind of meaningless. So what we are trying to say here is what then begins to fill the void in the head, right? It's like the mind, which is what we know from those psychological studies, so to speak, that those things that are then happening are like the mind manufacturing them. And the problem is when we look for the symptoms of depression, people begin to give you symptoms that relate to the mind, like fatigue, low self-esteem, loss of appetite, and they tell you all that. When in actual sense, what happens to people in that situation can be as physical as, like, it can be like somebody is punching you. So the pain is not just like there's a pain in your head or in one abstract place. It can be like your heart. Your heart will start racing, like physical things will be happening to you. So the point here is for us to also understand that this mental health thing we're talking about is not confined in the head. It can originate from the mind, from the distortions of the mind and all that. But in the way it manifests in the body just like any other thing. It's like if you watch some of these movies on exorcism. I saw one recently on Netflix, I've forgotten the name. And you can see the physical torture people go through. And you just know that this thing is profound. This thing is way bigger than we imagine. And then we go to the next phase, which is the rising, where he begins to discover truths that are capable of liberating one in that, in that place, So, and the first point there, I think to be the next one, rising, is like minds have their own weather system. That's the first truth to tattoo on your mind. That minds have their own weather systems. When you are in that place, you are more like in a hurricane. And like hurricanes run out of energy eventually, what you really need to do is hold on. Now, holding on with the following truths, such as you will one day experience joy that matches this pain. You will cry euphoric tears, tears of joy, the tears that you have come out of this. You will make great friends because, again, we know that there's the isolation, there's the stigma, there's the social distancing even that go with. It's like you want to marry a lady, or a lady wants to marry a man, and through the fact where you are, the fact finding and checking the person's history and all that. Like in among the Igbos, be like those people, their family, they have madness in it. You are trying to wonder what are they talking about. Now, it means I should know that when the storm, is over, and that's we want to use the lyrics of R. Kelly. When the storm is over, things will get okay. I mean, that realization of those truths from his own experience, when he began to see that, okay, a time will come through learning this and learning that when this will all, be over. And the fundamental one, which is the last point there, is that knowing that depression is smaller than you. It is smaller than you even when it feels like so vast, even when it feels like the whole of the universe. And that is because it operates within you. You do not operate within it. It's happening to you, like it's happening in your head, So if you really understand that, then you get that it may be a dark cloud passing across the sky. And that will mean that, you are the sky and that cloud will pass. So some of those in his rising stage, from reading, and he talks a lot about the power of reading, which is the point we have really been making here, like what reading did for him. He spent, considerable time talking about the solace in the written word, how books became his anchor, how the word of literature helped him to even label his feeling. Because in reading, you find the words, you find the right expressions, you also discover what's happening to other people. You discover how other people are coping with it. In his words, it was his essential lifeline, knowing that he's not alone and then knowing how to express himself and all that. So those sort of realizations really helped him, and all that. Then in living, which is like quite coming out of it, now it's also important to know that, the road you take to coming out of it is not a linear journey. It's not like, which is the funny thing, it's not like you come out of it. It's like something, it's like high and low, up and down, over periods of months, years, even, like that's sort of thing. So that understanding, but it helps for you to understand that the world itself has been designed to depress us. Because if we were all happy, the advertising guys, Dubem, you and your people, marketing and advertising, if somebody already has a car, you bring another car and give the person all the reasons why that car they have is nonsense. Why they need to upgrade, why they need to buy that of next year that has not even come. So that understanding that the world has been designed to depress you even because people want to make money off you, and begin to really put the barriers to guarding your mind, being in the right places, like just being here and having this discussion can be also that game changer for you, and then for you to really watch out for the warning signs, because there are always signs, to really know yourself and know what the warning signs are. And again, a very important point he makes is for us to understand the relationship between anxiety and depression. It's like they accompany each other. Sometimes anxiety triggers depression, depression triggers anxiety, and they just coexist like a nightmare marriage, And that is what it is. It's really understanding what is and not what we wish it should be, right? And then finally, being, which is like moving on with the rest of your life, if you understand, like in your day-to-day living, if you understand that, I already explained it. That's the last one, the being. Yeah, what reading and writing can do for you, as part of your life, not as just something you do today and you come back to next year. You read a book without thinking about finishing it. Just be in it. Just read it. Just enter that world. Liberate your mind. We've talked about it enough here, the place of perspective, knowing other things, embrace the journey, being brave, being strong, breathe and keep going and stuff. But the truth, like I stated, earlier at the beginning, is for some of us who may not be in that place, who are not depressed or are not anxious, or even don't quite identify ourselves as such, because sometimes from time to time at the different phases of our lives, we may have made brief trips into those mental states, and sometimes it was so quick that we didn't really sit in there, and sometimes people were there for a considerable period of time. So imagine somebody who didn't have a job for a couple of years and started feeling like they were a failure, started feeling like they were not doing things right and all that. So what I'm trying to say is that some of us from time to time may have made brief trips in there and out, and we're not there long enough to identify with those problems. And it can then be very easy for us to tell people, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. You'll be fine, don't worry, don't worry. So I think one thing we learned from the book too is, especially from his partner, Andrea, right, who was very supportive, who was there taking the heat and being by him. We get to understand that sometimes what we have to offer is just being there, and not in releasing the wise sayings of these words. Don't worry, it's your head that is doing, you'll be fine. It's nothing, just those kind of dismissive things. But the central idea of this book is for us to really understand how pervasive, how crazy this can be, and how people who are suffering from depression, anxiety, and its propensity to lead to even suicide. Because again, if you read the book, it was so crazy when he started that he actually walked to the cliff and was going to throw himself down there, So that's sort of thing. So if we understand that, and whether in the future something happens to us, whether in the past it happened and we didn't quite know how to get around it, whether it's happening to somebody who is related to us, somebody who is a colleague, somebody around us, I think the book equips us to be able to engage, in the right way, as against dismissing people's feeling and feeling we know what they are going through, So I'll leave it there and open the floor for other contributions and discussions. Thank you, Dubem.
Yeah, thank you very much, Connell. And thanks everyone who paid attention to the book review. I think this year, compared to the years before now, I've not seen this much men's health content in celebration of Men's Day or Mental Health Day. So, and I appreciate all of it, because even when we are all, holding things in there and forming that we are strong, it's not a good sign, because you only hold it in for so long before you eventually burst like a bubble. And why do we have to hold things in for so long? Especially when we can let things go and be better for it. We can rely on our community and we can make things easy for each other. So thanks once again for sharing this wonderful book with us, Cornell. And I would open the floor, I'll stop sharing, and ask us all to contribute. Did anyone read the book besides Cornell? Did anyone else read it? Or does anyone else have something to share with us in relation to the topic that we've just discussed? Yes. I
Yes,
can
good
see
evening, everyone.
hands raised. Thank you, Chizoterum.
Good evening.
Yeah, Steve, we can
Good
hear you,
evening.
Steve.
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay.
Good evening, Stephen.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Yeah, thank you for the rare privilege to be able to share my 2 cents on the book. Actually, I think I was just opportune to listen to the book just briefly, maybe like 10, 15 minutes before this meeting started. So yes, and yeah, Mr. Cornell, you actually did a whole lot of you actually expounded on the content of the book. I just want to say that yes, it's like the way you said, we are now having, a lot like this year we had a massive men's content on mental health. Yeah, the awareness is now there because unlike before, it's like you are a man, you can handle it. Now, man, you be the popular Nigeria slang, so it's supposed to runner, but it's actually not. It's actually way beyond that. We had this talk show in my church. Yeah, I think it was some days before Men's Day. That's Father's Day, officially in Nigeria, and it was on the mental issues men face, and and one of the speakers said that it's not about men willing to talk. It's about, okay, if you have a wife, if you have a sister, are they willing to listen? Would they be, are they readily available to listen? Because they feel like you're a man, you should be able to navigate the problem, not knowing that you are also clueless about this kind of issues. But so they feel that you should be able to come over it. You'll be fine. That's the word. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But it's beyond that. And at the base of what I do as a person, mental health is there, and I can tell you for sure that depression is just one can be depressed for a period of 10 years, even without knowing it, living normally, and it just takes one small incident to make it turn to fire and to become suicidal. And suicide is the last phase of depression. So once a person is suicidal, that's the last phase. So that's the most critical stage. But before it gets to that period, before it gets to that point, there are a lot that's been happening or that's happened in a person's life that results in depression. So there are a lot of things men face right from childhood. There are a lot of things in the mental health space. There are a lot of things that can cause depression, and there are even different levels of depression. So while we have depression in three categories. We have the mild, we have the moderate, then we have the intense. That's the very deep one. Then we have different levels. So as a person, a lot happens in our childhood that we don't think that they actually matter. But it actually goes to form the kind of person an individual turn to, a man or a woman alike. So a lot of experiences, and this can be maybe you come from a background where there's actually you don't have the luxury of of financial abundance. You don't have the luxury of having what you want. It affects the mind. That's one. You come from a place where we have boys that actually were molested. Even we have women that were also molested. Maybe by an uncle, a friend. Also it could be whosoever, and that goes with the person into adulthood. That is a sear on the person's conscience. which if not treated, it becomes it becomes worse. So all these are the things that causes depression. So sometimes depression, it depends on the kind of depression. Can be a lot of untreated, a lot of experiences, bad experiences that happened in the past that sums up, and one small incident can just make it, suicidal. Or it can just be maybe a stage of life, a phase in life, like Cornell said, when someone is, for example, if someone is out of job as a man, you have a family, that you put you under intense pressure, and at that point, you see yourself less. You feel like nothing is working, nothing is happening, and all this. Yes. So, but actually, what I actually want to say as regards the book and has been discussed is that it depends on the part of the country, on the part of the world you are. Depression is actually as is actually gaining ground, like it's actually being talked about more often. But still, some people still misrepresent it. So some people feel that okay, if actually I have enough money, especially from this part of the world, if I have maybe like I have like $100,000 in my account, if I have $1 million, I won't be depressed. I've heard that among colleagues in the office, and but they don't know that that is not actually the solution. That can, even having too much money brings its own problem. So some people feel that. Why some people feel that you know you are not being loved enough. We have a lot of misrepresentation of this whole depression thing, and because of that, it actually makes us delay in treating it. So, as much as yes, we know that, like the author, was able to self-medicate, self-treat himself, and was fine. But there are some also degrees, there are some kinds of depression that you cannot treat yourself. You have to seek help. You have to seek professional help from it. Licensed therapist, from a licensed medical practitioner, a mental health practitioner to help you. So I think that is just what actually I actually wanted to chip in, so that we don't think that okay, yes, the author actually did well. I mean, he read from people and that, but it just depends on the because they are in degrees, they are in different, they are different kinds. So it just depends on how deep, yes, that word. So if it's not so deep, yes, then you can easily treat yourself. But even at that, it's still not advisable. But if it's
Yeah.
not so deep, you can easily, just talk yourself out of it. You can also pray yourself out of it. You can also share with someone that can give you one or two tips. Maybe as a family, as a club here, you can speak to someone that is more someone you can confide in, and the person will tell you just one thing and you are fine. So that is just that. So
Thank you very much, Steve. Yeah,
when it is
I
very, very deep, when it's intense, yeah, you better need to seek mental health. Need to seek.
all right. Thank you so much. I think we lost your audio for a bit there, but if I got everything you were saying right, and which is also in line with what Cornell has been saying, when you need help, seek the help that you need and make sure that you are not in any way discrediting your feelings because they are important. And but the important thing is to also seek help in the right channel, right? I wouldn't want to seek help in a way that disempowers me. I would want to seek help in a way that makes me feel better and feel more empowered. Moving on, I saw your hand, Chiziterum Iwumunne. Yeah, I know you've lowered it now, but I think you had something you wanted to say, and it would be lovely to hear it. So if you don't mind, can you unmute and share with us?
All right. Good evening, everyone.
Thank you. Good
Am
evening.
I heard?
Loud and clear.
All right. Thank you. It's been a brilliant outing, I must confess, from Mr. Sami down to Mr. Obina, spoke so passionately about the book club, to the fireside chat with Dr. Pascal. It's been an insightful journey, and then Cornell crowned it all. I won't want to make another presentation, so I'll keep it brief and simple. So, men's mental health, reasons to stay alive. Mr. Obina spoke so passionately, and I like to draw from some of the things he shared, particularly the place of books. I think Connor has a book on that title, The Wonder of Books. I also have a title on Read Your to the Top, even though it's some sort academic, about students. But the point to note there is that every area we're struggling with in life are areas where we are deficient in knowledge. People struggling with mental health, people struggling with depression. When I just had the word depression, personally as an individual, it went south. Because for me, that's me anyway. I'm not saying people don't have mental health issues, but because of the information I've been exposed to, because of some of the things I know about life, partly because of the experiences I've had, come to think of it, if you have knowledge about yourself, self-discovery, self-awareness, you have a good knowledge of what you can do and what you cannot do, what is not within your power. You have a good knowledge about your abilities, that you are aware of yourself. You have a healthy image of your self-esteem. You have a good concept of your self-image. It helps check what can constitute depression and what wouldn't, lead to that. I remember in my previous workplace, I had a boss who was a hell. When Cornell spoke about the gentleman that spoke of, I've forgotten his name, that said, if you are going through hell, keep going, because nothing good can come out of hell. Just keep your eyes on the big picture. Keep your eyes on the end of hell. Someone like that. Maybe that time I might be, I definitely had some issues with mental health, but of course, suicide would be the very last of it. So my point is, I see it as a wake-up call for us to place more premium on knowledge. Knowledge is underemphasized. Information is everywhere, but knowledge is not. It's social media. Information is excessive. You just open up your phone, turn on your data, notifications from different WhatsApp groups, notification from Facebook, X, Instagram. You don't even know YouTube. You don't know which to turn to. So is that deliberate effort to filter through the massive chunk of information coming your way to decipher which one is important for your growth, which one is important for your journey, which one is important for your becoming. So that said, my little word around the book, Connor has done justice to it, is that in addition to the last speaker, Steve, men, of course, can go through mental health issues. It's important you find yourself in a thriving community. Gamechangers, it's one example. Beyond just
Oh,
that
your network is breaking.
community, have people you connect with, vulnerable to, oh, sorry, am I heard?
Yes, I can hear you now.
It's breaking.
Clearly.
Might
But
be?
I can hear you now.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Oh, good
on
now.
transit.
Yes.
I had a quick call to rush to the office. So let me end it here. So let me just end it so other people can make their contributions. So I was saying, have people. That's one of the solutions around mental health, reasons to stay alive. Someone said, let me tie the two together. Someone said, your purpose in life is your argument against death. Your purpose in life is your argument against death. Question is, there's a problem in the office, at work, at home, and I want to end my life. Question is, what happens to my purpose then? Do I, because of a little bend in the road, now terminate the entire journey? So there's also that question of purpose. Why am I alive? Why am I living? What did I come to the earth to do? Have I done it? How far have I gone? Imagine you thinking of ending your life. What happens to game changers? What happens to your family? What happens to your friends? What happens to your circle? What happens to your vision? The things that God has put in your heart to run. So that said, I'm saying as a way, as a solution, have people you are vulnerable to, people you are accountable to, people you open yourself to. Sometimes you don't even need a solution. You just need a safe space where you can voice out some of your frustrations, some of your difficulties, some of your challenges, some of your debilitating thoughts. Just sharing them, allowing them to find escape route out of the mind instead of bottling them up. Dubem, you mentioned why bottle it up till it explodes. Just finding a safe space where you can air them, whether the advice comes or not. Sometimes it's secondary, sometimes it's primary, but I think that helps a lot. And then finally, it's your spirituality. If you have a thriving relationship with God and you have a relationship with the Holy Spirit, it does a lot. That's for people that believe in God. I want to think it's not everybody that shares same spiritual views, but it's important to believe in something because life will not end on it. So if you have a relationship with God, it helps with issues around depression. You can pray, can study the word of God, you can take out time to meditate, stay out. But primarily is that we must place importance on knowledge. These are things that knowledge will answer. For as long as we lack knowledge in some areas, we will struggle. But as knowledge comes, it brings light, it brings clarity, it brings direction, it brings purpose. And that's why I have decided to be a part of this reading club, because I know it has a lot of value to offer me, to learn more about life, to expose myself to other brilliant minds, share ideas and perspectives that will take our lives to the next level. So it's on that note I want to thank everyone for this important outing. I consider myself privileged to be in the same room with some brilliant minds. Some of the things you guys have shared is really fascinating, and I hope I am able to put myself to that discipline of reading and committing to attending meetings, participating, and then taking up responsibilities where necessary. Thank you so much, guys. It's been an interesting ride.
Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful nugget that you've shared. So, Ukamaka Agatha, I see you raised your hand as well. So please, can you briefly share with us? I know we are out of time, but I would love to hear you since you raised your hands. That way we can wrap up after you. So please take the floor.
Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to everybody. It's a pleasure to be among these great people. I think I'm the only the only lady. I don't know if I'm the only lady here.
No, there are many. There are many of you.
Okay.
Welcome.
Okay. I just want to briefly add to what the previous speakers have said so far. I really appreciate everybody, and thank you so much, Mr. Cornelius. I really appreciate the review. And I just want to quickly add to what Mr. Steven said. He said that there are men who are having issues, but they can't speak up because there are ladies who are not willing to listen. If I quote him correctly, but I just want to tell him that yes, there are ladies that are willing to listen, just like the writer said that he had his partner in during the period when he was battling with depression. Yes, I think men need to also observe that they have partners, maybe sisters, mothers, the female ones in their lives, they are willing to listen to them. They should just take away that ego that man is should be a man, that you don't have to okay, my friend will always say that men are not storytellers, that they don't share what they pass through. No, I just want to correct that notion that men ought to share what they are passing through with their partners. They have to tell them, like, share their experiences, because problem shared is problem solved. So thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, everybody.
That's a lovely one, Agatha Okamaka. That's a very, very lovely one. And I hope we all take the advice, right? To share. Please share. You know, I keep referencing the Bible when I make some comments, but it is so true. Light dispels darkness. When you're depressed, when you're going through life, you're in a dark place. And only light can, and this light is figurative. This light is about bringing that difficult, that darkness you're going through to the open, and making sure that you are not, believing the lies that it might be telling you. Because sometimes challenges has a way of blowing things out of proportion. But when you share it, you receive more perspective, and you realize that, yeah, you're going through things, but it doesn't define you. And you can also ride this wave and become greater and even better. Thank you, everyone. Juliana, I see you raised your hands. I believe you've been inspired by what someone has said. Please briefly share with us so that we can wrap up. I just want to give everybody the opportunity to talk, because it's our launch on the inaugural day. So yeah, want to hear from you.
Okay, sorry. Just a quick one. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for the privilege and this opportunity. I'm really it's just like a confirmation that I'm supposed to be here. So I really appreciate the atmosphere. But I just want to chip in something. I know we're talking about depression, but I just want to add that I think one thing again that could really help is, yes, we're talking about men, but I think generally the world now, the way things are going, it's hitting everyone really, because people don't really spend time to build friendships. So the only thing I want to chip in is, you don't need to wait for depression to hit you. You don't need to wait for it. You just need to prepare. Like, you just need to prepare. You just need to build your system or support system or whatever thing. So you don't necessarily need to wait to get into it. See, life is going to happen to everybody, no matter, it depends on the side of the world you're in, or whenever your turn is going to get to, but it's definitely going to happen to everybody. So having that, as being aware of that already, you just need to build a system around you. Yeah, that's just the only, because the book didn't really point that out. I didn't see that glaring anyway. It just handled how he was able to go. I just think I just want to chip that in. Build your system. You don't wait to get down before you start opening up. No, just have your own working system. You have people you confide in. Build the relationship. Like, you just really need to be active and invest in the relationships, not when the going gets down, like the popular saying goes. TD Jakes emphasized that so much. He will tell you, build a system, have solid men support. Even if you don't want to do, maybe you don't want women in your circle or whatever it is, it's fine. But then have a solid system that can really stand and be intentional. I'm not just saying for the male folks, I'm saying even for us, the women. It's just have a system that really works for you, and don't wait for it to get to hit you before you start getting help or seeking help. Yeah, thank you so much for this platform.
You're most welcome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I strongly believe in what you just said. I often have this, I tell people, make friends before you need them. Build bridges before you need to cross the roads. Always pay it forward, right? So that makes sense. That is something that we should all, live by one way or the other. And knowing fully well that, just like she mentioned, which is true, we're going to experience difficult times in life. It is bound to happen. So
it's up to us to make sure that it doesn't catch us unprepared, unawares. We can prepare ourselves and fortify ourselves and make sure that when it comes, we are prepared, we are fortified, and we can handle it. We can take it on. And you have a book club that helps you with knowledge. Knowledge is also a light. It dispels darkness. Just like Chiziterem said, you struggle in any area where you're deficient in knowledge. So knowledge is a light. It dispels darkness, and it can make difficult things simpler. So thanks everyone for making our time to be with us on this inaugural launch of the book club. I hope to see more of you. We do have a WhatsApp group where we'll be posting announcements and staying in touch. Please try your best to engage with us and check the WhatsApp groups for updates. And till the next time we meet, take good care of yourself, read and share your learnings with as many people as possible, and invite others to join our club. Thank you so much. Have a great day, night, depending on where you are. It's still daylight for me so much here. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. See you guys next time.